This is Vic Patel with Craft Express.
My name is Ashley from Artistry.
It's Gavin, founder, creator of steps.io, and you're listening to
Two Regular Guys podcast,
Hosted by
Terry Combs RG, regular guy,
and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
The best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
Prepare for the wow.
All right, welcome into the show. It is Friday, December 6th, 2024. I'm Terry Combs, and you can find me at terrycombs.com.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery from our Success Group, and I coach business owners away from stress and anxiety and towards clarity and confidence. And then I get to do Two Regular Guys podcast too, which is all about having some fun, but sharing some great information. Terry, today we've got... And now I'm in my head about it. So we've got Karis Copp joining us today to discuss PR and how we can utilize that to grow our business. I got to meet her at Printing United, and obviously just an awesome person. But what I was really taken aback by was just how, right, I think a lot of, well, I'm going to say me, I thought, PR was send the press release, call it a day. Right. And obviously there's so much more to that. And so we brought the expert in here. So I'm excited about that today, Terry.
Karis Copp. And yes, make sure everybody stays till the very end as well for the secret sauce. Our good friend Dane Clement, our art guy for the Two Regular Guys, he's going to be joining us to continue his secret sauce series on AI art programs. So today's topic is Leonardo.ai, and Dane says this is one of his favorites. So make sure you stay to the very end and learn a little bit about. Well, we all need to learn a little bit about AI art, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Dane taught me about. I think he showed it last time, or maybe I'm giving away some of the secrets. But ideogram. And then he said, yeah, I'm going to talk about this one. I'm like, I've never heard of that one. Sweet. I'm excited. So we're excited to get Dane in here a little bit later today. So again, stay tuned to the very end. Also, we are excited about welcoming back Dan Barefoot with World Imaging News here in just a moment. But he's brought a friend and some really exciting news happening over there. And so I'm going to step out of the way here, Terry, and we'll let them share. Sound like a plan?
Good. World Imaging News.
Here we go.
Buenos días, mi nombre es María José Clavijo. Emocionante es la noticia que estamos a punto de compartir sobre nuestro nuevo sitio web, World Imaging News Latino.
Good morning from World Imaging News. It's a beautiful sunny day here in Southern California. And yes, I'm really excited to welcome my colleague, MJ Clavijo, who is joining us on this podcast from Bogota, Colombia. MJ has an integral role in both our original Win site and is heavily involved with our new World Imaging News Latino site. The launch of our Latino site is huge news for our industry and for graphics professionals in Latin America. Tell us all about the Latino website, MJ.
Thanks, Dan. We are really excited to bring this all-new platform to Spanish and Portuguese-speaking graphics imaging professionals. This all-new website launched on November 30th, and we are thrilled since it is the first pan-Latin America digital media portal in the world.
Hey, MJ, the World Imaging News platform is the only online news service for graphics professionals that completely covers the Americas. We are announcing another new feature this morning. We will have French as an option on our original World Imaging News website, which means we cover all the Americas from Canada to Brazil in major native languages. So MJ, what can users expect from Win Latino?
We will continue with the coverage pioneered by our Win original site. We will have breaking news updates, in-depth reporting with a focus outside of the US. We will continue with our Win Spectac comparison series, industry updates, and focus stories that those in Latin America would like to hear. And users will get the inside scoop on industry events and trade shows, along with a new streaming service from World Imaging News.
Hey, that's great. What is the URL for the new site?
The news site will be located at www.worldimagingNewsLatino.com. Be sure to follow us along with our new social media sites for Latin America to be launched very soon.
Hey, thanks for that update, MJ. Let's shift gears and dive into some of the big stories Win has been covering beyond the exciting launch of Win Latino. In our latest newsletter, we spotlighted the top 30 stories of November, and there's a lot to unpack. One of the most impactful stories we're following involves the potential effects of President elect Trump's proposed tariffs on our industry and on the economy as a whole. For those who may not know, the incoming administration is considering a 25%, and it could be as high as 100% tariff on goods imported from China, Mexico, and Canada. This is really significant when you consider that the US imported nearly $450 billion of products from Canada last year. I'm sorry, from China last year. If these tariffs are enacted, it's essentially like slapping a 25% to 100% cost increase on those products overnight. This could hit the DTF industry especially hard, as most of the printers, film, ink, and powder are sourced from China. Brands like Epson, Mimaki, and Xerox are likely to feel the squeeze as well due to some of their manufacturing operations being located in China. While companies like Muto, Roland, and HP might seem less affected because they don't manufacture in China, many of their components still come from there and they could fall under this tariff. The ripple effects could be far reaching, and it's definitely a story we'll continue to watch. MJ, why don't you give us a quick rundown of some of the other newsworthy stories from the past month?
Sure then. Let me highlight a major story that's been creating waves in the industry, the acquisition of Fiery by Epson. As you know, it is a story we have been following closely and for good reasons. Yesterday, Epson announced that it now owns 100% of Fiery, the leading software web provider in our industry. Combining Fiery, the top player in web software, with Epson, one of the largest printer manufacturers, creates a powerhouse pairing that could redefine the market. By bringing Fiery fully under its umbrella, Epson has the potential to shake up how web software integrates with printing hardware across the industry. This is a significant development, and it's definitely a story we'll be watching closely to see how it unfolds. Dan, what are some of the other stories being followed?
Hey, MJ, another focus for us right now is the upcoming Impressions show in Long Beach this January. There's lots of buzz around what we can expect, and many companies are set to unveil many exciting products. For instance, Buffalo Imaging is introducing a new DTF film that's sure to grab attention. BMAC is making waves with their new Super Shaker unit, which is being manufactured here in the US. Meanwhile, our friends at CobraFlex, known for having the fastest DTF system in the world, has hinted at some big major announcements. And let's not forget the major players, Epson, Ricoh, and Roland. At Printing United, Epson and Ricoh showcased engineering mock-ups of their upcoming DTF units. So we're anticipating some major news from them at the show. Also, Roland has already launched their TY300 DTF printer in Japan, and we expect this to be launched at Impressions as well. All in all, the Impressions show promises to be one of the most exciting yet, and we're looking forward to seeing how those innovations shape our industry.
Sounds like there's a lot happening in our industry right now.
Absolutely, MJ. You know, we've saved the best story for last, one I know Aaron will really appreciate. Why don't you tell everyone about the Summit of Success coming up in April?
Gladly. For our final story, the Summit of Success retreat for business owners is set for April 10 to 12, 2025, at the beautiful Couture de Paris Lodge in North Dakota. Hosted by our Success Group and BK Custom Tees, this 3-day event offers a mix of business building sessions and wellness activities, all in a stunning rural setting. Aaron Montgomery, who is the co-founder of our Success Group and our host here, calls it a unique opportunity for business owners to recharge and connect. It's about stepping out of the daily grind to gain clarity, foster real change, and build lasting support networks.
We've covered many stories today, MJ, as we do every month. To stay up to date on the latest news and trends in digital imaging, please go over to worldimagingnews.com and
worldimagingnewslatina.com.
to sign up for our weekly newsletter, Win Quick News. You will receive industry insights delivered straight to your inbox. And that's the Win News, folks. I'm Dan Barefoot.
And I'm MJ.
And until next time, stay healthy and keep smiling.
Manténganse saludables y sigan sonriendo.
All right.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was really awesome. And wow, MJ, thank you for sharing in both English and Spanish. Amazing. And I apologize that I messed up their intro. We're still figuring out this new platform, and apparently Eric's got it working a little different than I expected. So I apologize. That's on me, you guys. But really great stuff. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you sharing all that. All right, Terry.
Yeah, that's kind of our thing, the having some technical difficulties in nearly 600 episodes.
We don't need to have them in every episode, though. I don't know. All right. Well, again, thank you guys for sharing that and all the wonderful stuff coming up. And I wanted to bring up this comment here, actually. Ramona talking about what Dan was talking about with the tariffs. Why don't people understand how tariffs will directly affect them and all of their purchases? It's we got to be aware of this stuff, and that's why we need to have our emails put in over there and get that Win Imaging News, and we appreciate the folks like Dan and MJ coming in here and sharing with us so we can stay up to date on stuff like this, Terry. So pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, let's say hello to some folks that are tuned in here real quick. We've got Doug checking in from West Hills, California, just outside of Los Angeles there. So hopefully everything's going great over there for you, Doug, and Rena up in California as well. Good morning and happy Friday. Thanks for being here, Rena. And we've got Collegiate Press Wide Format, Greg over there. Sounds like good stuff. And somehow we're going to have to get MJ to record that first part again for us. Maybe I can fix it in podcast edit. So Dan, if we could do that, that would be awesome. So we get the whole thing for you guys. Again, I was pretty excited. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I don't have the right people on screen. All right. So we've got everybody else checking in here, Mo and Jerry Dahlheimer. Jerry, hopefully you are doing well, sir. I know you were recently at the hospital. I won't share the details, but glad to have you on here. So that makes me feel good that you're here. So, and Ramona, hello.
All right.
Terry, do you got a dad joke for us?
I do have a dad joke for us. I think it's my turn. It's been a few weeks. So yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Here we go.
Aaron, in Germany, they even have a sausage made completely from other sausages.
Whoa, really? What do they call that?
They call it the worst of the worst.
All right.
Now, if Eric were here, the podcast listeners would be told that it's WURST and WORST.
Yeah, so I didn't have time to get the banner corrected there, but very good, Terry. I like that. The worst of the worst. All right. Dad joke approved.
Dad joke approved. I felt like that too. All right. Before we dive in, Aaron, we'd like to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We need your voices. We would love to have you as a part of the show intros that you heard at the top of the show. Go to decorators.ink/intro, read a few sentences, and be a part of every show. Don't be left out. We are always looking for new guests like today. If you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2 regular guys to book a future episode, or email us at info@tworegularguys.com with your show ideas. If you are listening to the podcast version of the show, which most of our listeners are out there in the podcast world, we would appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with all of your industry friends so they can become regulators too. We would appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Podcast, YouTube Podcast, wherever you do your podcast listening, we are there. And if you're watching us live right now, please join in with your comments and your questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing all that. And like Terry said, we're always looking for new guests. Obviously, after 576 episodes, that gets harder and harder, but we're still finding them. Like today, Terry, which again, I'm super excited about this. She is so amazing, and I'm glad that we get to share her with our listeners. But you ready to welcome her in here, Terry?
Absolutely. Let's bring her in.
All right. Hello.
Hi, Karis.
Hello. Hi,
Awesome.
guys.
Welcome to the show. We used to read the old stuffy bios, and a couple of hundred episodes ago, we said, you know what? Let's just have our guests tell us a little bit about themselves, how you found your way to our industry.
Okay, perfect. Well, I can't believe I have to follow the dad joke, but okay, I'll give it a go. So I started in the industry about 10 years ago now. I originally trained as a journalist, and like many people, kind of fell into the world of print and everything that goes with it by just happening to get a job as a journalist at a publishing house in Bristol, where I'm from in the UK, and it was magazines focused on printing and signage.
Oh.
And I didn't know anything about it prior to that. Wasn't looking necessarily for a trade magazine role, but ended up completely falling in love with it and falling in love with the industry, and particularly the people, the fact that I got to travel and write about these great technologies and companies, and yeah, from there I moved into PR, but stayed working in print, and really loved that because I got to do a lot of the same stuff I loved about the journalism side of things, but working more closely with the companies themselves, and really getting to dig down into what they do and how best to tell their stories. And then I kind of stayed in the industry, writing, editing, doing some PR, working some events, and then started Karis Copp Media in about 2018. And now there's a team of 3 of us, me and my colleague, another Karis, and Kerry. So just to really confuse you, we've got Karis, and Kerry at Karis Copp Media.
Wait, who are you calling for?
Which
Well, you tell a universal story, because something that our listeners have heard me say 1,000 times. Armed with my degree in journalism, I accidentally became a screen printer and never left.
You can't get out.
No.
The Hotel California effect, we call it over here. But so cool. All right. Well, let's get into this whole PR thing. I kind of alluded to it at the beginning. I had this fixed perception of what PR, public relations, meant. So I want to get clear. That's what we're here to talk about today. And I know you do a lot more than just this, but how does PR differ from, let's say, marketing or advertising?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think what PR is certainly evolving, but when you look at PR and marketing and advertising, it's all about storytelling and putting your content and your messages out into the world, and kind of conveying how you want your brand or your company or your product to be perceived. But I think one of the key differences with PR is really it's about building trust, and that's often through the validation and insight of a reliable source. Traditionally the media. You look at someone like Dan and MJ and the work they do. Really, if they're choosing to write about your company and cover what they're doing in the context of the industry and why it's relevant to their audience, that's something that's really, really key. So whether that's that coverage because you've put out some news, or they're just coming to you for comment because your voice is thought of as important, it's all about that credibility. And I think while marketing is about crafting a message and the company distributing that, and advertising, similar in a paid medium, promoting what you're doing. PR is about creating that trust and leveraging trusted sources.
Wow, that's brilliant. That makes it very clear and understandable. So I actually wrote that down. Quotable: PR equals trust. Okay.
Well, so obviously we needed some clarification. What are some of the common misconceptions or misunderstandings businesses have about PR, especially as it relates to the garment and product decorating industry?
Yeah, I think it was interesting at the top of the show, Aaron, what you said about just sending out press releases. That was obviously top of my list of what the kind of main misconceptions are, and of course that is part of PR. It's an important part of the tools at our disposal to get our message out there. But actually, it's a really strategic process. I think particularly in areas like printing, apparel decoration, it involves being really knowledgeable about the industries and the technology and really embedding yourself in that. And particularly from us, from perspective as an agency that specializes in those areas, you need to be kind of really part of a client's day-to-day business. So I think it's more strategic than a lot of people think, and press releases and media relations are a big part of it, but we tend to think of ourselves as PR and communications agency, because it's not just traditional PR that people think of as that media relations aspect of it. There's, from our perspective, we create social media content, blog content, webinars, white papers, case studies. We help manage speaking engagements, work with events, crisis communications. So there's a whole lot more to it than just that. And I think that's probably the main misconception. I think one more is that, particularly again in our industry where you get a lot of smaller businesses, a lot of very niche businesses, the misconception can be that you don't need PR. People think PR is, it's for Apple, it's for Coca-Cola, it's for who you see in the New York Times and that kind of thing. But it's just not true, because every company has a story worth telling, and every company has an audience that they're trying to reach and wants to be a leader in their space and an authority on their topic. So I think PR can play a key role in that communication and getting your story out there.
Yeah, and I think and I teach screen printing classes among other things, and one of the things that we talk about on Business and Marketing Day is you have to tell your story. Nobody wants to buy from a screen printer. Nobody wants to buy from an embroiderer. They want to buy from someone that has a story to tell about themselves and their business. So I think that people are more open to that today and appreciate that more as a business owner as opposed to a previous century when I started my first business. So.
We won't get into the age thing right now, Terry. So here's the other thing that stands out to me, a little off track here, but you talked about how, just sending the press release, that was kind of my misconception of PR. But I think the other thing that stood out to me about you is that you also have relationships with the media, the people that are willing to write the stories, right? So, Dan shared a program that I'm a part of, and, it came across in a way that was really good because of a relationship that I built there. So I could send out my press release to, hundreds of different outlets, but A, not all of them are going to do anything with it. And B, when they can take and expand on it in their voice to their readers, it's a totally different, like you said, level of trust. So I know I didn't really, I'm not sure I have a question in there, but if you want to elaborate on that at all, we'd love to hear your thoughts, Karis.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think again, it's probably I'll be a broken record with this in this conversation, but it is trust. And I think those relationships are a really key part of that. And, building those, whether it's your company or whether you work with an agency like us, who's, we put a lot of effort into being great partners for the media, and giving them what they need to cover a story. And I think if you think about, from a personal perspective, who do we who do we trust most? It's the people that we've known for a long time. It's the people that have proven themselves to be reliable, that we can count on them. And it's the same in professional capacity. If you build a relationship, if I'm building a relationship with a journalist or an outlet, and then I get to know them as a person, but also get to know their beat and what they cover and what they're interested in writing about. And then 2 years down the line, 5 years down the line, I'm working with a client, and I know that this is the person to go to with this story first, because they cover this really well in a great context. They trust me that we're going to get them what they need, and all the information, images, whatever it may be, comment from the client. And then that opportunity pays off. So it's about those kind of, PR is not an overnight quick fix, unfortunately, but it's about consistency and long-term work, and proving yourself to be reliable and a good partner and a great source of information.
I love it. Wow.
And I think that's the relationship thing is a perfect point here, because Aaron and I get now that we've been doing this show for 12 years, we'll get random emails saying our client XYZ would be a perfect fit for your podcast, and then we read what they do and we're like, really? You think that's a perfect fit? But you, on the other hand, you've been on the show. You're gonna say, "Hey, I have a great guest for you." We're gonna immediately go, "Okay, let's do it." So yeah. That's well, again, relationship.
Yeah. And that's it's so true, and it goes back to trust as well, because I've read things about people who have podcasts where they don't have any guests and it's just them speaking, and you get these emails saying, "I've listened to every single episode and I've got a great guest," and you think, well, you obviously haven't, because they've never had a guest.
Never had a guest. Yeah, we actually had that. We had that email yesterday. Somebody wanted to share somebody that, this would be a great guest for you. Based, same thing. We've listened to all your episodes. These would be a great guest. They help restaurants.
Yeah.
Okay. So we just have a pretty stock reply. Thank you for reaching out. That doesn't seem to be a fit for us at this time.
Yeah. And next time they reach out, you're not going to give it the kind of the credence that you might if it was someone that had been useful to you before and you had a relationship with.
Absolutely.
So
100%. 100%.
Well, Aaron, though, was it Johnny Cupcakes? Because it's not really a cupcake store. He sells T-shirts.
It was not. I would have Johnny Cupcakes on the show. All right. So let me get back on track here. I apologize. But the other thing is, PR is obviously evolving, especially in the digital age that we live in today. So what do you see as maybe some new opportunities because of that shift for our listeners, the folks in the garment and printing world?
Yeah, I think one of the great things generally about the digital age and the evolution of PR and communications in the era that we're in now is the democratization and accessibility of information. We've now got so much more access to information, and it's not a one-way conversation anymore. It's a dialogue. It's not sending out a release and someone covers it and you've got no way of getting any feedback on that. People are starting conversations and creating those relationships. We now have social media, website content. We've got great podcasts like this one that we can really communicate directly and in so many different ways. So I think that's something that's a huge change. So many more people can get involved, can start a podcast, can talk to the people that are getting the information out there in a podcast. So I think traditional PR, either a company internally or with a PR partner like my company, you're securing coverage in a publication and that's that. So I think just having that two-way conversation can really help businesses learn what their audience want and what people think about them as well. So yeah, I think that creates a real opportunity. It also creates problems. There's challenges involved with everybody being able to publish whatever they want all the time, but it's also I think a really great opportunity for businesses to get their message out there and meet their audience where they are, which is everywhere. That's why PR has evolved, because people are in so many more places than they used to be. They're not just reading the paper and reading a magazine. They're getting that information from so many different sources, and that's an opportunity, but it needs to be carefully thought out and planned.
Yeah. Wow. Good points.
Well,
sure.
and you talked before about a strategy, and as you were answering that previous question, I was thinking, man, there's a lot of noise out there. It's hard to know where to go and how to build a strategy. Do you have any advice for our listeners about how to start building a PR strategy? Let's start with first, reach out to you, and we're going to talk about how to do
And then
that at the end of this segment. But number two.
Yeah, I think what I would say first is the most important place to start is to be really clear about exactly what you're trying to achieve, and what you want to get out of PR, why you're doing it. I think, without your why in terms of what you're trying to get out of it, you can't measure it effectively. You can't know if it's successful, and it's difficult to even put a strategy together if you haven't got your clear goals and your clear reason for doing it. So I think that's something a lot of people maybe skip over at first in terms of being really clear about their goals, because you just want to get started. But it's really, really important to look at that. And I think on that point, if you're wondering, well, I don't know anything about PR, I just want to get started, but I don't really know what our goals would be. We just want to create a bit more awareness and that kind of thing. But I think getting on the same page as the rest of your company is really important. What are your revenue goals? What are your growth targets? What are your sales team's goals or marketing goals? Aligning PR and communications goals with actual measurable business goals is really, really important. So, you wouldn't launch a new product or enter a new market without having a really clear strategy from that perspective. And it's the same with PR. So I think you really need to integrate PR into the whole mix, and then kind of just can quite easily expand your storytelling toolbox, I guess, and look at the different avenues that are available to you in terms of the PR activity that we've already touched on, creating your own content, social content, media relations, and then just, dropping that into the rest of your strategy can be really easy if you've got those clear goals.
Awesome.
Wow. Smart.
Yeah. So, and when you said you wouldn't start your business doing that, you probably meant to say you shouldn't, because people do that. Someone's doing that right now.
And then they're going to come to me in about a year and go, I've got this bruise on my forehead and I need to, okay. Sorry.
Well, yeah. And I'm sure businesses, and hey, I started as a one-man shop, and I guess I wasn't really, well, I take that back. I had a degree in journalism. So I did think about promotion and things like that, but not a strategy early on. But so at some point people say, I need what you're offering. And along those lines, a lot of companies live and die by customer reviews, online comments. How can PR help manage that and keep it as kind of build a positive reputation for your company? That was a rambling question.
No, I think, it's, again, like I think I touched on already, that consistency is really important. And again, trust, broken record, the trust is so important. And I think building that is a crucial piece of the puzzle, but it does need to be consistent. And when it comes to things like what we would call in PR crisis communication, you've something has happened, or you've got a negative review or some negative feedback. Businesses are often left kind of scrambling to deal with that and react with that. And, they kind of go into reputation management mode after that event has occurred. And obviously you're already kind of on the back foot then. So that's why that consistency, telling your story, promoting the positive things that your company does, whether that's through the media, your social channels, your website, amplifying the experiences and stories of your customer bases, your happy customers that you have had a positive experience with you, and leveraging them as ambassadors and champions of your brands, and encouraging them to share their thoughts is a great way of doing that all year round. and then that's just great communication strategy anyway, but it can be really helpful position to be in if you do unfortunately come up against, some negative comments online. And I think if that does happen, it's really important, I think, to act quickly. Don't bury your head in the sand or react too emotionally to something like that. I think it's really important that you acknowledge the issue and the feedback that this person has given, and be really transparent and clear about how you're going to address it and what you might do to kind of avoid this in the future. So I think dealing with the current challenge is just a good thing to do anyway. If you do have, someone that's saying something negative, but it also shows people that you take, your customer satisfaction and their concerns seriously. So yeah, I think there's two parts to that puzzle, and one of them is just being really consistent all year round with proving that you're doing positive work, and that you can keep customers happy, and that there are customers happy with your work, but then also reacting quickly to any negative feedback that you do have is key, I think.
Wow.
Do you ever have to talk one of your clients off the ledge because you have 1,000 positive feedback, you have one negative, and you're in an entire panic?
Thankfully, no, but we do offer, crisis communication support in our company, and we do help companies that maybe do come up against some negativity and how to deal with that. But luckily, haven't had to grab a phone out of anyone's hand before they send a response yet.
Stop responding.
Yeah,
man,
we'll take it from here.
Yeah, we should have had Karis on retainer, I think, for crisis management, right? Send all negative comments here instead. All right. No, it's so good, so good. This is really good. I'm learning so much here. Okay, so you talked about measuring a little bit earlier, and I think that was so key that people understand, okay, what's the plan? Okay, what's the steps? But can you help us with a little bit of that? How can we measure PR's effect? Sometimes I think it can be a little bit challenging to tell what's working. Like you said, sometimes it's a long game. So what are some tips you could give us about measuring our PR efforts?
Sure. Yeah, it's such an interesting question. I feel like you might have to, rein me in on this. It's a really fascinating one for me. But the reason I say that is because you're totally right, Aaron. It's one of those things that's got a bit of a reputation of being intangible, particularly in the traditional PR sense that I was talking about, where something's placed in a magazine or a newspaper, and we're not really 100% sure, exactly how much you can attribute to that, in terms of sales and awareness. You could do all these efforts, and then someone says, well, actually, you don't know that he didn't speak to his friend Bob who told him about it. So it is traditionally really difficult to measure, but that is changing, and it is because of the digital age and the tools at our disposal. So it's a really, really exciting time, and certainly for us, a work in progress. It's something I'm completely fascinated by, but it does take work to really get that attribution and show how you're having an impact on business goals and revenue. So it can be a little bit overwhelming, but you can look at kind of tying it to business outcomes. But
okay,
before I say that, I think it's just important to talk about kind of tracking coverage, which is what most people think of as the most important metric when we're looking at media relations, and that's really key. So it's, even though measurement goes beyond this, it's a really fundamental step in engaging the success of your PR activity. So, how many print and digital outlets covered your news story or covered your business in general? And, there's a lot of software tools that you can use to monitor this. But also it's something that, particularly if you're a smaller business, you can really do yourself in terms of looking at the magazines you subscribe to, setting up your Google alerts, conducting your own, Google searches. It doesn't necessarily mean forking out, on expensive tools in the first instance. But then, of course, you can go a little bit deeper on things like sentiment and share a voice, and whether your key messages are being included in this coverage. So that's a really good place to start. But I think now that we've talked about the owned media, things at our disposal, which is your website content, your blog content, social content, that really helps us get a great handle on how successful our PR activity is. You monitor your website traffic. Perhaps there's referrals from links in media coverage. Perhaps there's organic search spikes when you've sent out news or launched something, or you can tie it in with your activity. You can measure that engagement really easily with your owned media, like your blogs or your case studies. And the same with social platforms like LinkedIn make it super easy to look at the metrics and measure the impact of your content. So it's certainly an exciting time. And I think one thing that we try and do is really get buy-in from our partners to share their goals, and then we can really showcase whether we're actually helping meet those goals. If we know what they are, if we can access their Google Analytics, it really helps to have buy-in from the whole team, whether that's like I've said, sales, marketing, operations, all the rest of it, R&D. Everyone kind of needs to be on the same bus and all agree where that bus is going. Otherwise, it can be a bit chaotic. So, but I think for smaller businesses, it can be a little overwhelming. There's a lot of data. We're inundated with data all the time, and how do we measure it successfully? And most importantly, how do we actually act on that? If we've got all this data, how do we actually show what's working and what's not, and then tweak our strategy and our plans accordingly? But it's maybe a good place to start with just maybe one or two metrics that are important to you if you're getting started with some PR and communications activity. Or as you said, you can partner with an agency that specializes in that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Somebody who actually knows what they're looking at with all the metrics and has an understanding of it. Well, I have an example from this morning. Before we went into this meeting, about 10 minutes before I came in, I was in a meeting, and we had our first lead. Someone actually called yesterday and bought a machine at Equipment Zone, and the usual, how did you hear about us? Oh, Chat GPT. And the very first person to ever say to us, that's how they found us to buy equipment. And he goes, that's all I use to shop for equipment now. So what kind of trends in PR are you seeing that we should be paying attention to in the next few years?
Yeah, and of course that's the big one, isn't it? Artificial intelligence is the big one, and I think we're only really scratching the surface of how it will be used in PR and communications. But certainly it can be so useful when it comes to strategy and creative ideation. So the kind of things that we would think of as generative AI, but equally it can be used for media monitoring, reporting, a whole lot of other kind of measurement tools from a communication perspective. So, there's a lot to be wary about. And of course, it brings its own challenges. And we're really careful to be using it as ethically and as responsibly as we can. But I think it can really help small businesses, whether it's my small agency helping external clients or a small business managing PR in-house. But it can really help you be leaner and more productive and more efficient, and therefore more profitable. I think particularly in times where things can be really tight. I think it's certainly, as in the same way we think of as automation when it comes to equipment or software, this is just another way of cutting down on the things that we don't necessarily need a human to be doing, whether it's easy for a computer to do and just perhaps not very interesting for a person to be doing it. It's certainly not why people get into PR, to kind of create spreadsheets and go through all these numbers and create all these reports. So I think it can be really useful from that perspective. And I think another thing is just that definitely affects our industries is that kind of consumer awareness side of things. Customers, whether it's B2B or end customers, are kind of more switched on than ever, which is great, but they care about where their products come from and what goes into creating them, and they're more discerning on that, about who they prepared to buy from and who they're prepared to work with. And I think it will only continue like that as younger people are more environmentally and socially conscious generations, come into the workplace or advance in their careers and have more buying power. So I think that's something for PR and our industry is to be really, really clear on in terms of our messaging. We need to be really careful about our honesty and our transparency and how we're communicating the good things that we're doing.
Wow. Really good stuff. Awesome. Looking ahead, I love that. And yeah, you're exactly right. We can leverage a lot of these things that you say are changing and evolving, but we have to be aware of that, and we have to be able to, like you said, get everybody on the same bus heading in the same direction. So crucial. Okay, well, let's talk about some opportunities here, right? What are you seeing? And I'd love for you to kind of speak directly to folks that are in the printing and apparel decorating space here. What are you seeing as opportunities or challenges to standing out when it comes to PR, but just in general? I know your company helps people kind of across the board. So give us what we should be aware of and what we should be doing, immediately after this podcast.
I think
tell us what to do. Sorry.
I think challenges, of course, there's on one side there's a challenge that can also be an opportunity is my PR spin on things. So I think just what we've just talked about in terms of that consumer awareness, the importance of sustainability. I think print businesses, apparel businesses, everyone's under more scrutiny than ever on that. And I think not just sustainability, but things like social responsibility, inclusion. That's really, really important, and we're really under a microscope there to be doing the right things. And again, I think it's really competitive. The marketplaces are more competitive than ever. That's something to get to grips with and really need to stand out. And technology is a massive disruptor, and that can be a challenge and an opportunity. But it can be difficult for businesses to get to grips with. So I think the opportunity is again to really kind of double down on telling your story and focus on your communications. How do you show that you're a leader in your space? How do you show that you're an authority on your topic? Leverage your customers, as we talked about already. Have them champion your brand. Look at customer success stories and case studies and showcase how your partnership with them has made them successful. And talk about your purpose as well. You've got a good story to tell. You've got a why you do it. You need to get that out there. And I think any business getting to the core of what it actually does and why it does it and what it's all about, and then telling that story clearly and consistently will definitely put you in an advantage.
Wow. Yeah. What a great way to tie all this up.
Yeah.
This has been awesome.
Well, before we let you go, I have a advice for you, because there's Karis and also Karis at your location. My daughter Riley, when she was in high school, her best friend was also Riley. So I call them Riley and Other Riley. And so, Other Riley, would you like another slice of pizza? So you might utilize that in your company. But
I think I will. I think she's already getting a little bit of Other Karis. So
right. So just formalize it. It's on your business card. No. But how can our listeners connect with you, learn more about what you do? How can they find out about utilizing your services?
Sure. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Karis Copp. That's Karis Karis Copp COPP. And you can follow our company page on there too. That's Karis Copp Media, where our team shares content from our blog and thought leadership and some fun pictures and videos and what life is like at our company. And you can follow Karis Copp Media on Instagram too, and kariscoppmedia.com is where you can find out more about what we do and who we work with, and you'll find a lot of our content there too. So many ways to get in touch, and I hope you do.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys just reach out, because it looks like just kind of looking through your website, right? You guys will just have a conversation with people about working with you and how that works. And so I think that's a worthwhile endeavor,
Yeah, absolutely. And we're trying to create a lot more content that's just really educational and helpful as well. So, even if we can't help you from a relationship standpoint, we hopefully keep an eye on our output, and you'll find some useful stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, so good. So go over and check that out. Thank you so much for your time. This has been great. I know we had some challenges. I created some challenges to get you onto a time slot. So I appreciate you making this work, and got you in before the end of the year. But we'd love to have you back again at some point in the future.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Karis.
Awesome. Terry, that was
super stuff.
Yeah. It's like, again, I know I've had these preconceived notions about PR, and now these were old, right? And so I've evolved, but this took it to the next level. It makes you really, I mean, going back to what you said at the start, the PR equals trust. That's so good, so good.
Yep.
All right,
I wrote it down too.
Okay, yours is on a yellow legal pad, I'm assuming. All right. I used
for a podcast listeners. I just held up my junior yellow legal pad.
There you go. All right. Well, Terry, what is going on in your world coming up here? Are you staying in warm Phoenix, or are you traveling to enjoy some of this cold weather we have back here?
I am. I'm just back from the Dominican Republic for my birthday. 3 of my 4 kids went to celebrate my birthday, which was Thanksgiving Day. So that was
birthday.
But my next complete screen printing business course at Workhorse Products here in Phoenix will be February 1st and 2nd. My next class in Chicago at Atlas Screen Supply will be March 15th and 16th. I'm going to be talking DTG and DTF printing, which technology is best for you at Impressions Expo in Long Beach in January. Watch for all of my events or sign up for my classes at terrycombs.com. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, a couple quick things here. So this is not necessarily an event, but I want to continue to put this invitation out there. In fact, I had a call yesterday with a young lady, and I kind of joke with my wife that we get down into like kind of really deeply aligned with what people do, and occasionally that brings out some emotions. So it was a fantastic conversation that I had, and I want to do this with other folks. The idea is figuring out what it is that you are all about, why you started your business. And then we talk through that and try to find some patterns and let go of the stories that we're telling ourselves. And then when we're doing that, then we go, okay, well, how can we match up our business to that? Right. And so if you want to see how your business is aligned to your strengths, values, and passions, I do have a no charge assessment. I will try to hit the button and talk at the same time. Not always easy, but if you'll go over to osg.link/SVP, there's no strings attached, no expectations from my end, just an opportunity to spend a little time talking about things so you can get to doing more smiling and less stressing. So I just want to put that invitation out there. I think Dan and MJ did a fantastic job telling you guys about Summit of Success, but I want to take an opportunity to just give you guys one more link here, osg.link/SOS. And again, April 10th through the 12th up there in Coeur de Prairie Lodge in North Dakota. And it's going to be, I was talking to Cassie Green about it not too long ago, and she's like, I've never heard of anything like this in our space. And that was the idea. We wanted to do something completely different. It's going to be retreat. It's going to be mindset. It's going to be wellness. As small business owners, to go somewhere and not have to make any decisions for 3 days and have everything taken care of for you while you work on your business. I find that to be pretty invaluable, Terry.
I think it sounds awesome.
Yeah. So there are only 11 rooms available. They are double occupancy rooms. So if you want to bring somebody, you can, or room up with somebody, you can save a little money that way. But we tried to make it as, in fact, we know we made it as accessible as possible. So it's only $1,500 for the 3 days, room, board, meals, all the education, all the things. So definitely check that out over there at osg.link/SOS. And one last thing for me, Terry, tomorrow I will be hosting Small Business Saturday. We try to do that every Saturday at noon. We've got that going again pretty regularly. And that is over at liveosg.com, where you can check that out on our YouTube page. I'm not finding that in the banners here. So Eric has these aligned for him, but I'm missing a bunch of things. So anyhow, liveosg.com is where you can check that out at noon. Tomorrow, I'm talking about one of my favorite topics, time management. And Terry, you guys have heard this before, but the secret is there's no such thing as a time management problem. We have a priority management problem. So I'm going to actually get into the nuts and bolts of how do you make sure that you're picking the right priorities at the right times. I'm going to share with people my, what I call empowered life system. It's the quote unquote planner that I put together for myself. And so I think everybody's got to find a system that works for them, but I think there's some crucial elements to it. Plus I've got a little game that I've been playing lately that I'm going to show people about tomorrow at noon. So check that out.
Awesome.
All right. And Eric, we'll get more from him when he's back, but he will be out there at Impressions Expo in January. So you want to check out what Eric's got going on, you head over to ericcampbell.com. Okay. So
very good.
We have one Mr. Two Regular Guys art guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Dane Clement. And he is eagerly waiting to share with us about Leonardo.ai. So we're going to see how this works. We've got Dane in here with our new system, so I'm sure it'll be amazing as usual. You ready for that, Terry?
I'm ready. Let's hear Dane.
All right. I think I'm sharing my screen, right? This new system's all different. All right. Good deal. So let me do that. So, hey, I'm Dane Clement, by the way. I am Executive Creative Director for Stalls, formerly of Great Dane Graphics. I've been doing artwork, since like forever, 100 years at least, right? So let me go ahead and show you a different app, right? So I will be in Long Beach, by the way, have seminars, workshops, that sort of thing, all artwork related. So if you're out that way, make sure you look me up. I'll be around the Stalls booth as well. One of the classes I do kind of inspired me to do these secret sauces with you guys on the AI. So I have what I call a love, hate relationship with AI stuff because I'm an art guy, man. I've been drawing and painting my whole life. And now all of a sudden anybody can do it with a couple of words and then poof, it pops up on screen in 10 seconds. Well, I can't paint in 10 seconds. That blank canvas behind me there's been there for like a year and a half, I think, because everything else I'm doing these days is on my screen here, right? So, but you don't need to be an artist to create cool artwork. And the more that, the more times you start playing around with these AIs, you're going to realize, at least like I have, there's a lot of great ones. In fact, there's new ones every day. It's crazy, right? So I have a handful that I migrate to because I'm a Mid-Journey user mostly, probably, but I use a lot of other ones because you just get different looks, and you're able to create new or different styles, I guess, with all the different ones, right? So you're never going to get the same look out of everything. So that's the cool thing about checking out different AIs. That's why I want to show you this one. So Leonardo AI has been around a while, a couple of years at least that I've been working with it. And it is, I think it's pretty awesome. There's a free version, there's paid plans and stuff like that. So obviously just whatever one you play with or, check out, make sure that you look at what you're capable of doing. Typically, if you pay for it, you can use it commercially. A couple of them out there will allow you to use the free version commercially as well. You just got to look into it because they're all different, right? So when you go to Leonardo AI, this is what you get. And it's typical, right? It's a website interface, basically, and you can scroll around. Here's the inspiration. Almost all of the apps out there will do this. I say almost because there's, more I'll be showing you that look different, but most of them look like this. You see something you like, you click on it, and it'll tell you the prompt that everybody used, or, in their image. It kind of tells you what models they've used, some of them, right? Or what bits and pieces. Because the one thing I do like about this particular app is this is built off of like Stable Diffusion, Automatic 1111 stuff way back in the day. So there's so many models, like just boatloads. And you don't have to worry about trying to run Stable Diffusion, native on your machine anymore. I mean, that's a difficult process at best for a Mac, but if you're a PC guy, not a whole lot easier. But if you look around, you can see just tons and tons of cool things. And when you find something that you do like, I kind of dig this. That looks pretty cool to me. Abstract portrait, with wide brushstrokes, vibrant colors. Didn't say anything else, and it gets that. But if you take a look here, it's using a SDXL first model, right? So, which is interesting. So those kind of things, just check them out. I'm going to go back to that in a minute. But so when you open it up, stuff here on the left, here's your home. This is your library. That's all the stuff that you've generated, and these are some things that it can do. So real-time cam. I'm going to show you what I use. All I use is image creation, right? I'm not worried about motion videos and any of the other stuff because I don't need it in my day-to-day, so I don't utilize it. But there's a lot of things that these apps, this one in particular, will do that you might find awesome. I just don't have a need for it, so I don't use it. So I'm going to hit this image creation here, right? And you can see some little snowmen that I did before, right? So over here on the left, the very first thing, this Phoenix is their latest model, right? This happens to be Leonardo's new art model, right? So you can, if you want an anime style, you can do here. So all of these things, graphic design, this illustrative one, these will give you different looks, and we'll play around with a few of them. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this Phoenix one straight out from the beginning. Right here, we say prompt enhance. It'll auto enhance it, and for you, if you turn it on, I'm going to go ahead and leave it on. The quality, I can go fast with this new Phoenix. You can have an ultra quality, like super high res. Here is your standard, you want it portrait style, you want a square, horizontal, that sort of thing. You can punch it in here. I will tell you this, that Leonardo is not very strong on text. So if you're trying to find that all-in-one app where you just go there, put some text, put an image, and utilize what you see, then I would probably recommend Ideogram for that. But since, again, I'm an artist, I can still save a boatload of time on creating an image and bringing it into something else, Photoshop, adding some text or whatever, right? I can combine it. I have those skills. And if you do too, then just utilize those. Say, get the best piece of art out of whatever app you decide to check. So I'm gonna generate 4 here. That's kind of where it stands. I'll hit the generate button, and well, look at that. Bigfoot dressed as Santa Claus. I put that in there and I didn't take it out. So let's see what happens. No talent, right? But I like Bigfoot and I like Santa Claus. So that's something. And then look at the prompt that it says, since we left it on the enhanced prompt, right? So a jovial Bigfoot, right? It's shaggy fur. You can read that whole text. It's going to generate from that. It's going to use a regular standard Phoenix mode, and we'll get an image here. Now we're at like 20-30% coming up here. So I'm not going to generate a lot of new things because I don't have a whole lot of time. I got a few more minutes here, and then we'll get out of it. This does take a few minutes, but it is generating 4. And by the way, even if it seems like it's a long time, just imagine if you had to start sketching and then actually start painting, right? So we can click on it and take a look. I'm not a big fan. That was funny. I'm not a big fan of the actual style here, maybe, right? But I suppose it's got some uses. This kind of looks like the abominable snowman at back in the day. So again, if we wanted to download it, I can just hit the download button right here at the bottom. We could copy it to the clipboard. So this one, remove background. Now, it's not very good. I don't think any app is doing a remove background very well. Now, this particular background, well, let's just see what happens. I don't know. Why not? So it's going to cost me some tokens, but I don't care. I got a bunch, right? So, because I do pay for this. I do pay for a lot of them, by the way. But what happens is it's, again, another reason we can't really do a whole lot live. It's still spinning and wheeling. So I don't know what it's going to do. I would assume it's going to focus on him, right? So that's a pretty decent job. But here's the deal. If you're a YouTube watcher, I watch it for YouTube. They would say, look how great it is. And then they move right on. You get like half a second in the preview. But of course, I'm the art guy and I'm a Photoshop guy. And I look at these things. I'm thinking, well, that's not so bad. But man, look what happened here, right? There's a lot of white fuzz going all around this guy. And, you may think that's okay. I don't. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to stuff like that. So I would take this as it stands now and bring it into Photoshop, maybe make some adjustments to it. But this one's not so bad. You lost all the background stuff. You do have some cleanup in these apps. I say these apps because I haven't really found an app yet that has tools available for you, right? So if it would give me an eraser tool, then I can just zoom in and actually erase on those kind of things, then that would be better, right? It would maybe start to eliminate the need for, photo image editing software like Photoshop or, Affinity Photo, things like that. So let's go ahead and change one of these styles. Let's just go to, I don't know, let's try an anime. Anime general, whatever. We can just sort of pick something, right? And this is the cool thing. When you do utilize this, it does have a free plan, by the way, but when you do utilize these things, check them all out. There's gonna be like a million options that you can generate to get different looks. So actually, let's do it. We're just gonna leave it like it is and just see with the same prompt is going to generate using a different model, right? To get that different look. Just so you can take a look, this is, color pencil sketch. We use Leonardo Phoenix for this one. Sketch color was the actual model that we use. So it gave me this look. Here's another one, right? So these this stuff here, this is Leonardo Anime XL, right? I'm not a big anime guy. Like, I'm not a huge fan. I do like it. This is cute as can be, like, especially this one here. And you can see, says Merry Christmas. It was in my prompt, right? Wrapped up in lights with the words Merry Christmas, which you can kind of, see the rest of it there. It doesn't do text really well at all, but that's okay. So this is this is interesting. Kind of cool looking. Don't know that that's in my prompt that I asked for. He's got a couple of thumbs going on. This is famous for AI apps, by the way. So this hand looks pretty good. It's got 4 fingers and a thumb, and don't know what's going on over here. But it's Sasquatch, I guess, right? Whatever it's supposed to be. All right, we got some big feet in him. So anyway, you'll see lots of these. Guess he got 3 legs. Don't know what this appendage is here necessarily, but I do think the big foot part is pretty cool. All right, so let's just go back to the beginning because I want to show you some other things that you can utilize, right? So scrolling in through through this, the inspiration, you pick an image, and the cool thing about this, right? When I click on this, that is a beautiful woman that does not exist. That's the craziest thing to me. Like, it just made it up. No, it doesn't. She doesn't exist. No parts of this person exist anywhere. Supposedly, that's what they say. But if you look at it here, it tells you that it uses a photoreal version 2. Now this is me. This is more my style. So I just clicked on more inspiration, right? It just shows you other things that are generated. So if I click on that and you see a guy gets attacked by a werewolf in the woods, that's pretty cool. And then I scroll down here, it tells me a little old school comic and some toon anime. And it uses Leonardo Kino XL to create it. So what we could do is we could hit this button. It says generate with photoreal, which is going to use the settings that are in here, right? So if I click on that, here it goes right back to our artwork generator. And here's all the stuff, the settings. But if you look over here, it says use legacy mode, right? So the Phoenix stuff and the ones that we saw initially, those were all current, the new models and things like that. I don't think they're necessarily better, right? They're just newer. They might be more fine-tuned in certain things, but the legacy things opens up the door to just tons and tons of other models that you can utilize. So let's just put a prompt in here. Why don't we do, let's do the same one. Let's see, Bigfoot dressed as Santa Claus. And it would generate, it's going to generate my 4 images because that's what I could do 8, but it's just going to cost you more tokens or credits, and everybody calls it a little something different. But typically, I use AI art generators to come up for ideation, mostly for my own illustrations, because I still do my own stuff, so it's all me. If I utilize a piece of the AI itself, I might grab an image from one, maybe grab an arm or a head from another one and do certain things with it like that. So it never stays the same because I've never been happy with anything I've seen just straight out of it. Now these are pretty interesting. It's more in tune to the maybe the artwork style that I was looking for because I dug that werewolf in the woods there. He's pretty much Santa Claus. I don't see a whole lot of Sasquatch going on, especially this one, but I do dig him. I don't know if this is a raccoon tail or is that supposed to be a bag of toys? I don't know. But it doesn't look like a bag of toys to me. So you get the idea, right? So again, if I like out of these, I think I can go with this one here, right? So I can download him. It's going to bring it into my downloads folder, right? So really quick, let me just go to that because this is a huge part of AI apps. I'm going to move all this over there because it's freaking me out looking at me. All right, so here we go. So downloads, right? Here it is. Just go drag it here. I use this app here for my upscaling. Can I hide this? Yes, thank you. All right, here we go. So it's called Upscale. I pay for Topaz, by the way, as you see it sitting right next to it. I utilize it sometimes, but I find myself just going here because I think this is better. And it's free, and it works on my machine. So I don't have to wait sitting in a cloud in a queue or any of that sort of thing. So I dump it in here and I can upscale it. So if you look at the settings, it's set to upscale. I can select my image or just drag and drop like I just did. This is digital art, so I'm going to leave that there. If I'm doing a photograph or something, I could change it here. So I'm set to upscale 5 times. So we're just going to hit upscale and it's going to go ahead and crunch it through. And it'll give us a high resolution version of this. Right. And you can kind of see here, the left side is the original. And as I mouse over, look at his face, how much clearer it gets. Right. So I find myself utilizing this thing all the time. It's super easy. You dump it in it, you hit upscale button. I don't change any of this stuff because I don't really do photos stuff. Most of everything I'm going to mess with is artwork, whether it's mine or something else that I get off an AI app. I'm going to do that. So if I do this and just take a look, right, that is one of them here, right? So open that up there. So the original was 1 megabyte, right? And this new one is 21 megs. So you can see that there's a lot more resolution built into that file, ready to go. So typically you can upscale it in inside of Leonardo as well. It's going to cost you tokens, but it won't get you that good or that clean. It's just going to sort of upsample a bit. So if I go over here to my library, let's just pick this little snowman guy, right? I can download him again, and utilize it, right? So yeah. So that's it. So it's although this was pretty weak, I'm not a big fan of the style that we just chose. I do think for some reason it just didn't like my Sasquatch or my Bigfoot idea. But just scroll around, give it a shot. They do have a free version. I do think it's worth utilizing and checking out because I do find myself going to this quite a bit and getting a piece or a main image that I like that I can use in the rest of my design. So, all right. So if you got any questions on this, you want to find me, go to danclement.com. You can reach me there or find me somewhere at a trade show in Stahl's booth or in a classroom. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, Terry.
Awesome.
You're
interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. Lots of good stuff there for sure.
And seasonal.
Seasonal for sure. Absolutely. Love it. Love it. And I was playing around with the transitions and stuff in the background. So again, apologize for it being a little clunky, but I think we got to see all that stuff. And Dane, bravo, as usual.
Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Terry. Well, let's call it there. We want to just thank Karis Copp for joining us today, and make sure you go check her out over there at kariscoppmedia.com and just have that discovery call with her. She's very low pressure. Honestly, when I first met her, I was like, oh, I didn't realize she even did this, right? She was just really nice person, shared lots of great information. And after talking to her for a little bit, I'm like, oh, wait, you have your own business, right? Oh man, we got to share that. So definitely low pressure. Could be worth it. I don't, if you think, man, I don't know, hiring a PR agency isn't for me, it's out of my budget or whatever, I think you should talk to her just to see, to be honest with you. So anyhow, great conversation today. And also thanks to Dan and MJ for bringing the news. And then a special thanks to Dane for sharing about Leonardo today. That was really awesome.
Absolutely. We also want to thank our show producer, Eric Campbell. Eric's not with us today, but there's a lot more to this show than the hour or so that we spend here on Fridays. So Eric is always right in the mix of getting us prepped for this show, and we appreciate everything you do, Eric.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric. Terry, next week, drum roll. In fact, you know what? Hold on. This is silly, but you know what? We're going to do it. There we go. Drum roll. Next week is the 12th annual Reggie Awards show. The voting has been going hot and heavy over there. It's looking good. And there's some categories where I'm just not sure who the winner is. So this is your last week. So if you know somebody that is in the voting or you're in the voting, this is time to get the word out. I've been getting tagged on a lot of posts this last week, so that's pretty awesome. We're excited to bring home the Reggies again for a 12th year. Can you believe that, Terry?
Unbelievable, isn't it?
It's crazy. It's pretty awesome.
Looking forward to that show. All right. Until then, I'm Terry Combs. He's Aaron Montgomery.
And that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Regular Guys. We're here because of listeners like you, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey with us. For more valuable insight, be sure to visit our website, 2regularguys.com, and join the conversation on our Facebook page. And hey, if you or someone you know has expertise, a unique perspective, or a story worth sharing, we'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Just reach out. Remember, success in this industry isn't just about the equipment you own or the techniques you've mastered. It's about the mindset you bring and the connections you build. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid to think differently. Keep pressing on, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Two Regular Guys.